thought that this week on Foolish Bailey, we could do something kind of weird. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank my own work. But of course, what this video is really going to be is just kind of an exercise in me, breaking down baseball bits. And I'm sort of excited to share with you all kind of how I view these videos from my perspective and, the work that went into them, how I felt about how they turned out, how I felt like they could have been better, how I felt like they could have been worse. So it's very self-indulgent, but yeah, the guy that makes baseball bits is now going to attempt to rank baseball bits, but it's really just going to be a vehicle for me to talk about them. And we're going to go in chronological order. So the first episode of Baseball Bits, the worst call ever. Pirates and Braves. I'm going to put it in D, and I'm tell you why I'm going to put it in D, because it's the worst one, but it's also the first one. You know what I mean? It is so necessary in terms of just, getting started to just kind of get that one out of the way. I didn't know what I was doing yet, but, if that one wasn't made, then the other ones wouldn't have been made. So it's an important one. I don't think that the premise of it was bad in any way. I think I still agree with the argument, but it's just in terms of how it was made, I didn't quite know what I was doing yet. Justin Verlander, best inning ever. This is the one that really started to put me on the map. There was an episode I made between these two, by the way. It is no longer on YouTube. It is on Patreon if you want to check it out. It's about the 2018 World Series. I took that one down because it wasn't what I was trying to do with baseball bits. Anyways, so the third one I made was this Justin Verlander one. That put me on the map, added 6,000 subscribers. Justin Verlander tweeted about it, yada, yada. You probably know the story. A lot of people would say this is my best, and I don't blame them. From my perspective, it would be kind of upsetting to me if the second Baseball Bits was the best one, because I made 40 more after that. And so it's just like, if this was really the pinnacle this early, I don't really like the sound of that. There are some mistakes in here. It's sort of amateurish. I kind of messed up the conditions to get a pitcher win. There's a lot of amateurish stuff. The Verlander pixel art isn't great in that video. I was still learning it, so we're gonna give it an A because I think I've surpassed it, but obviously it's important. So you didn't vote for Larry Walker. This one I'm gonna say is a C. And the reason it's a C is because I think, despite how important Larry Walker getting into the Hall of Fame was to the lore of the channel, that represented more than this video. I think this video is fine. I don't think it's great, but I think it's just a perfectly fine episode of Baseball Bits. You could definitely go check it out if you haven't seen it. Next up, we're going to do Ichiro, Japan's Secret Slugger. It was about Ichiro if he had tried to hit home runs. Again, that's a C, and, it just kind of goes there. It's early. I was still kind of getting my legs. I was still trying to figure out how I'm going to do this format, still learning the pixel art, still learning how to do a proper voiceover, yada, yada. Okay. Game 7. World Series on the line. I think this was called Why Baseball Isn't Fair is the title of this one. This one's very popular. A lot of people really like this one. I really like this one too. I think the problem with this one is that it's kind of like I threw a perfect game and then I blew it in the 9th inning because I said I used the wrong definition. I misused the word penultimate, basically. I thought that it meant final. In fact, penultimate means second to last. I know that now. I went to college, but I messed that up twice at the end of that video, and so I just kind of biffed it, and it's cringe. I'm sorry, just to use a big word and not use it correctly is just so embarrassing, and it's a shame because that video is really good, but it kind of affects my ability to enjoy it, or else it would be A or S for sure, but I'm going to leave it in B. I think for a lot of people that can get past that, it is probably an A or an S, and yeah, this was, in many ways, the first, really good one I made. I feel like, this one was really good too, so... Shohei Ohtani, two-way players. This one, for a long time, I thought might have been one of the best ones I made. Maybe not the best one I made, but it's just so stellar. It's got a solid premise. It just kind of sticks with it. There's no big mistakes in it like there are in some of these. Pixel art was coming along. It's just, it's fairly coherent argument. I really like this one. This one's kind of like, I feel, underrated in my catalog. For a long time, I thought this was some of my best work. I might actually just leave it an A for now. We might do some rearranging on this later. Old Hoss Radborn, a very good one. My first foray into like dead ball era type stuff, and this always presents unique sort of challenges. Is when I'm making a video about, say, 19th century baseball, because there's no video from that time and there's very few photographs, so I really have to nail down just keeping the video visually interesting, because I can't lean on like MLB clips like I can with all of these. And so that's what made this such a sort of unique experience to make. I'm going to leave it in C for now. We could move it around later, but I'm going to leave it in C just because I feel like I have videos in this genre that did better. I love Old Hoss Radborn. I tried to do, him justice. And yeah, we'll come back to this one maybe. These aren't final. I'm just kind of sorting these, initially. Baseball's most breakable record. I used OOTP. It's an all right premise. It's all right execution. I'm gonna leave it as a C. I think I'm gonna move Radborn up to B though. People like that one. Pujols, The Decline. Albert Pujols is too slow for baseball. This one did extremely well. You can see why. It's a great thumbnail. Very simple. Couple reasons why I don't like this one. One, it's too long. It's just too long. Two, because it's negative. And that's not really what I'm trying to do on Baseball Bits. I'm not trying to tear people down. I'm trying to use analytics to build people up and make people look better than maybe we thought they were. So this is just kind of like, in some ways, the opposite of what I want to do with Baseball Bits. It worked. I mean, I got a ton of subscribers. It got a ton of views, but yeah, this is not my best work. And more than that, I think it just isn't quite representative of what I want to do with Baseball Bits. The Hype Machine, Steven Strasburg's debut. I think this one's really solid. This one's definitely really solid. People really like the pitching videos, I find. There's some people that just prefer to watch a Baseball Bits about a pitcher. This is kind of like just a quintessentially good Baseball Bits about a pitcher. I love that it's about Strasburg. I love that it's about his debut. I love that he won World Series MVP a few months after that dropped. Yeah, it's a solid one. Mike Trout. Draft snub. This is about the 24 players that were drafted ahead of Mike Trout. It's not bad. Maybe there's some humor in there that I don't think I did the best with. Yeah, it's not my favorite. It's definitely not my favorite one I've made. And I just kind of, I would love to tackle Trout again, do another Mike Trout video. But really, I think the way that Baseball Bits is going to work is that the last episode of Baseball Bits will be Mike Trout. That's just kind of how I view it. This will have to come to an end at some point. On my terms, it'll be with a lengthy episode about Mike Trout's career. Willie Mays. Is the catch overrated? S tier. S tier video. Even though I made a small mistake at the end when I said that Willie Mays won World Series MVP, that's not true. There was no World Series MVP. What I should have said is that because of his performance in the 1954 World Series, they named the World Series MVP award after him. That is a small mistake in there. However, this video, man, just perfect confluence of what I'm trying to do. We're trying to build people up. We're trying to talk about how great Willie Mays is. We're using new analytical angles at it. We're looking at catch probabilities. We're trying to apply that. There's so much detective work in this video. I think it's a S tier. I do think it's some of my best work. I don't think it's the best video I've ever made, but I do think it kind of, so far, like just in terms of the episodes we've ranked, which I think is about 12 of them, this is the best one. Great episode of Baseball Bits. Clayton Kershaw's Prime. Clayton Kershaw's Prime, I'm going to give it a C. This one was actually interesting to me. It came to my attention not that long ago because Lucas Giolito, when I was talking to him, mentioned pulling up this video in the hotel room, and I can understand why that's one he would go for. It's about, Clayton Kershaw. Giolito's a pitcher. He's from Southern California. I'm sure, when he was in high school, he was super into Kershaw. But yeah, this one, it's just kind of like a solid recap of 7 years. I made a video that was kind of like this just a little bit later, and that one is probably better. Juan Soto. Juan Soto doesn't make sense. I'm going to give this a B. I think it's pretty good. I think it's probably around average to above average in terms of my whole catalog. I'm trying not to grade it based on like how smart it makes me look. I'm trying specifically not to do that, but this video does. I basically compared him to Ted Williams, and at the time he had probably 800 career plate appearances, and he was, becoming a star, but he did not have the level of profile nationally that he does now. He had not won the World Series yet. He had not had the crazy 2020 season yet. He's incredible, and I'm just glad that I got to do a video about him. Get to compare him to some of the great young hitters. It was a real treat to make. I think it's a good video. Baseball, The Future of Baseball is International is the title of this one. This one, a little background. I think I can talk about this. I never really got a chance to because I didn't want to get in trouble, but I feel like it's been long enough. I made this video for Bleacher Report. Bleacher Report was doing a program where they were taking YouTubers, they were getting them to submit videos for like this pilot program, and it never launched. There's never a point where Bleacher Report took a look at this video and decided, hey, we want to have that on our site or like streaming on Turner or something like that. I don't know what they were going to do with it. I just made it for them. They paid me, thankfully. So I made this video for Bleacher Report. The whole thing just never went through. I was like, hey guys, can I put this up on my channel and monetize it? They said, yeah. They said, maybe do that. I don't know. And then I just did it anyways. And I never got in trouble. So yeah, this video, I made it for Bleacher Report. Did I get to choose the topic? They gave me 3 topics, and I chose this one. There were 2 other topics. I chose this one, and it's different, and you can probably tell that this is probably the, having like the least creative freedom in this one, just because I was assigned one of 3 topics, and it's different just because I talk about like real world issues. Yeah. It just doesn't quite feel like a baseball bits to me. I don't think I did a bad job on it necessarily, but it just doesn't quite feel like a baseball bits to me. Although it was nice to talk about things other than Major League Baseball. That's really nice. I would love to do that more, but the thing is, I feel kind of tied to MLB because I just know where I stand with them in terms of copyright. I don't know where I stand with KBO. If I tried to make a KBO video, I don't know what would happen. And I don't really want to do an experiment to find out because I got to pay that rent. Ad money. Pedro Martinez threw the greatest season ever. Then he did it again. This is an A. This is an A video. The only thing that's probably keeping it from being an S is that I think the final chapter of it just really isn't that interesting. But the meat of the video, which is about the 2 seasons, is, I think, really good. I think it shows a level of ambition that I'm not really sure I have at the moment. This was a 24-minute baseball bits. This was like a double feature, really. I mean, it's like I could have made one episode about 1999 and one episode about 2000, and then I just made this and I just put them together. And yeah, Pedro's amazing. This is one that upon release didn't do so great in terms of views, but slowly over time it's picked up, and now it's, I think, one of the most viewed baseball bits in general. So we're going to put it in A. And it would probably be S, but I think the end just isn't really that interesting. I don't know why I did that. I should have just stopped after Pedro threw a great season in 2000 and not tried to like overanalyze it. Tim LeCastro should be your favorite weird player. You already know where that's going. That's an S. I think that one is definitely in contention for the best video I ever made. It's one of those that I think is just it's just quintessential baseball bits. It's funny. It's probably the funniest video I've made in terms of like the writing. It showcases a player that you would never expect to be showcased. Perfect storm, just a perfect video. I'm so glad that it did well. But yeah, this is close to the pinnacle of baseball bits, I would say, is the video about Tim LeCastro. It really just sums up everything I'm trying to do, and it's one of those things where, like, I don't know how long YouTube as a platform is going to last. I don't know what the internet is going to be like. I kind of hope this video outlives me in a way, because I feel like it's just so representative of just, like, not only what I did with baseball bits, but just, like, who I am, you know? So it's a very important video to me. Shout out to Tim LeCastro. He's an amazing, unique player, so I wouldn't have been able to make this video without him. When Pujols broke Lidge. Okay, this is a tough one. I'm kind of torn between, like, B and C on this one. So I'm going to put it, for now, let's see here. I'm going to put it in B. I think it's a nice story. I don't think there's that much interesting analysis for me in this one, which is why I hesitate to rank it higher. I feel like what I would like to be doing is not just telling a story, not just parroting, a story. I feel like I want to add my own sort of analysis and spin to it. I'm not really sure how present that is in this video, but, I mean, it's a great story. So, I did my best to tell it. I don't consider myself to be a storyteller. I feel like storytellers are writing the story themselves, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm just kind of following the numbers, and that's where I get my inspiration from. And then I can start to craft the story, It's like I feel like the truth comes first. It's kind of a weird way of putting it. There's probably a much better way of putting it. 2011 draft. Was the 2011 draft the best draft ever? This one's a C. It's not the best. We can move on. David Ortiz. David Ortiz tour. I'm kind of trying to remember what the exact title of this is. It was like David Ortiz went on a great old man retirement tour or something like that. This is a fun season to talk about. It's really cool what Ortiz accomplished at the age of 40. I think this is just kind of like a good episode of Baseball Bits. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's, towards the top of what I've done necessarily, but I think it's just good. I think it's very watchable, has good humor, has a fun topic, yada yada. It's solid. It's a very solid episode of Baseball Bits. Houston Astros. Cheating scandal. Explained. We're going to put this in an A. I'm actually still really proud of this one. It's not perfect by any means, but I feel like, to this day, it was a pretty measured, just a sort of overview of the scandal. I like that I got John Boy involved. I really wanted to get Evan Drellick, who actually broke the story with Ken Rosenthal. I wanted to get him involved. He wasn't ready to talk about the story yet, so unfortunately I couldn't get him, but I did get John Boy. And I just love this story because it's not just about the Astros cheating. It's also about the role of the internet, the baseball detectives in breaking this story open even more once The Athletic dropped the bombshell, because there was just so much more to explore once that article came out. So I think it's a good one. I don't think it's my best because it's a little rough around the edges. But yeah, this is a video I feel like I can definitely stand by. Andrelton Simmons, Hall of Famer. Or Andrelton Simmons is having a Hall of Fame career. This one, I'm going to say, is a B. I think it's solid. I'm not really sure if Andrelton Simmons is going to be a Hall of Famer, but I'm not really sure if that was the point of the video either, right? It wasn't just me saying, hey, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, hot take. I hope that's not what people think the point of the video is. It's really just kind of like a fun exercise in, advanced defensive statistics and just sort of the philosophy of, a player that can, save a run is just as valuable as one that can generate one with the bat. I think that's cool. I think it's, it's just fun to talk about defense. It was just fun to do a video just talking all about defense. We're going to leave it, it's in B. I kind of want to put it in C, to be honest. I'll leave it in B. Jeff Mathis. Jeff Mathis can't hit, but he's good for baseball. It's an A. It's an A, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone loves this one. Kind of a quintessential baseball bits. We pick a weird player, a weird player who is either really good at one thing or really bad at one thing. We talk about it. This one isn't earth-shattering, I think, in terms of the analysis, but I think Jeff Mathis is a fun player. I'm glad he is an Atlanta Brave. I enjoy Jeff Mathis. I enjoy that his career just seemingly never ends, and it's going to end someday. It's possible this is the last year, but I just enjoy that here we are still in 2021, and Jeff Mathis is still a player in Major League Baseball. That's really special to me, and I just love the guy. And by the way, I've heard that he has seen this video. Someone reached out to me on Patreon who knew him, said he's seen the video and was flattered, so that makes me like him even more. Jeff Mathis, I know you're not going to see this on Foolish Bailey, but I salute you. Earl Weaver, Moneyball. Earl Weaver, Moneyball. We are going to say, in a shocking move, that this is an A. I think this is a good video. I think it's one of the smartest videos I've made. I just love that I could take something like Moneyball that most people probably watching were familiar with and just sort of draw these parallels between, Earl Weaver in the 1970s. It's kind of like almost a meta history of sabermetrics in a way, this video, and that's what I really enjoy about it. I think it was very sort of like academic in terms of approach, and I've written my fair share of history papers, so I think I applied a lot of that skill set to this video, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's a good one. I think we might do a little bit of rearranging here. For all its flaws, I'm going to put Justin Verlander up in the S. I'm trying to sort of, in my mind, maintain a bell curve to some extent, so that move is going to help. I feel like I could easily see this A tier getting crowded, so we may do some rearranging as time goes on. King Felix, another baseball bits about a pitcher. It's a baseball bits about a pitching season. And you know what? This episode of Baseball Bits is perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine episode of Baseball Bits. There's really nothing wrong with it. We're going to put it in B. It's not the best, but there's really nothing wrong with it. I think it's a perfectly enjoyable video. Bonds in 4. Bonds in 4 was a video that I think when it first came out, I wasn't so sure. Oh, by the way, what's interesting is I think I've got it just a little bit out of order here. I believe Mark Burley came out first. So let's do Mark Burley first. Mark Burley, Speedrunner. This is a video that's interesting to me because I feel like I had maybe the best premise I've ever had for a video, which is this idea of Mark Burley as a video game speedrunner. I think that's one of the best, maybe the best premises I've ever had for a video. The actual execution on said premise maybe wasn't the best. I could have done better there, but the premise itself is just so good. It's just such a funny idea. And so I'm actually going to put it in B. I think a lot of people would want me to put it in an A. I think that's fine, but I think it's just the premise is so good. The actual execution, it's fine, Bonds in 4, again, a really interesting premise. John Boyce kind of made the ultimate Barry Bonds video, right, when he did the Bonds without a bat. I felt like I really lended some interesting stuff here on Bonds, just my approach of looking at 4 plate appearances to talk about really his whole career. It's really interesting, and I think I really just kind of nailed it. I'm going to put it in A. It's a good video. Cleveland Spiders. The Cleveland Spiders, that's going to be we're going to put that in B. It's a good, perfectly fine baseball bits to watch. It's fun to talk about, a team from the 19th century. I think it's just a perfectly fine baseball bits to watch. Yankee center fielders. This one, I'm actually going to put in C. Maybe the premise isn't that bad. I don't know. There's just something about this one I could have done better on. I don't quite know what it is, but just it's too linear, Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. Maybe I just got the structure of it wrong, but just starting in 1919 or whatever it was and working for it 100 years, it's just kind of, it's like you get it, Once you get past, like, Mantle, you're just like, I get it. They're good at center field, Does this really need to keep going? Yeah, so we're going to put this one in C. Bryce Harper, what's this one called? What's the actual title of this video? Is it just Bryce Harper is the most underrated player in baseball, or Bryce Harper is so overrated that he's under? I don't remember what it is. But anyways, this one's a B. I like it. It's a perfectly sort of cognizant um, argument. It's like, here's my claim about Bryce Harper. People hated on him so long that he became underrated. And I feel like I proved it, or I feel like I made a convincing argument. So, success. But again, it's not an A, it's not an S tier video. Joey Votto hitting 400. I actually got a really nice comment about this one. They said that just the section where I talk about breaking down the elements of a 400 hitter, they said it kind of changed the way they view hitting, and I thought that was so nice. I think that is definitely a strength of that video, is just look at talking about the BABIP, talking about, you need the BABIP, you need the home runs, you can't strike out, but also how those three forces are always pulling against each other, so you can't really ever be elite at all of them in order to hit 400. That aspect's good. Again, I think this is a perfectly fine episode of Baseball Bits, just maybe not, top tier stuff. And honestly, I think that descriptor probably applies to the best game ever between the Yankees and Twins. Again, there's going to be a lot in B tier, but I think that's just kind of by design. These are episodes of Baseball Bits that I think there's nothing really wrong with them, but they're just not, towards the top for me necessarily. But there's truly nothing wrong with them. They're good. I would feel if I was sitting in, some sort of room with some sort of MLB executive and they wanted to watch a Baseball Bits with me to see if it was any good. And if they put on any of these videos in B, I would be like, yeah, this is representative of what I do, Tyler Glasnow throws the nastiest pitch in baseball. This one's good. I'm torn between B and A for this one. This is a good video. It's fun. It's a fun thing to focus on. Glasnow's fun. It's pretty funny video. I'm gonna put it in B for now because I do just think I'm a little bit more proud of these here in A. All right, the week of Ohtani. This is the second video that was made about Shohei Ohtani. So really, Ohtani to some degree is the first player with 2 baseball bits. The only other player that could maybe have claim to that is Albert, because Pujols has When Pujols Broke Lidge and then Being Too Slow for Baseball, but really I think this episode's about Lidge. So that would make Ohtani really the only player to star in 2 baseball bits. I gotta be honest with y'all about this one. It's not my favorite. I think I did a better job the first time around. I'm going to put this one in C. The reason I'm putting it in C is because their narration isn't great on it. Like, my microphone was clipping. I don't know. It could have been so much more. Maybe I jumped the gun. When you look at the things Ohtani is doing this season, I think this week is sort of like the prototype. But, I mean, if he has like a full season of doing this stuff, it's like, what's the point, I don't know. This isn't my favorite. One that I really do like is Timmy and Tulo. This is a good video, guys. If you haven't seen this video, check it out. It didn't do crazy numbers on my channel. I think a lot like the Earl Weaver video, it's academic in nature. It's sort of like, this whole thesis is about, not just how we should treat players that have Hall of Fame talent but didn't have Hall of Fame careers because of injury. That's a big part of the thesis is that, but it's also just interesting to discuss, these guys both played in the NL West at the same time, and they were both sort of breaking the mold as far as their positions. Lincecum was like this small guy who threw like, an ace pitcher. He had all this, this velo and this stuff. And then Tulowitzki at the time would have been considered big for a shortstop, but now he's sort of like the prototypical shortstop is someone who's like Tulowitzki, just an insane athlete. So this is a good one. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. All right, Rod Barajas, the catcher who couldn't throw. That's an S. That's got to be an S right there. That is an S tier video if I've ever seen one. This is a video that just, for me, it's between LeCastro and Rod Barajas for the best video I've made. And this one is just awesome. I mean, it completely subverts your expectations that I sort of set forward. You get the twist, you get the fun with analytics, you get some humor. It's just perfect. It's pretty much just a perfect episode of Baseball Bits. and it's one that I'm really proud of. It just hit 1 million views. I love this one. I hope you all love this one too. All right. The Marlins. How the Marlins won pandemic baseball. This one, I guess it's like a C or a B for me. You know, it's a C or a B. I'm just kind of looking at the episodes in B and looking at the ones in C and asking myself, which one do I vibe with more? I'm going to leave it in C. Again, I don't think there's anything terribly wrong with it, but it's just not. There's just nothing really like earth-shattering about this one, you know? All right. Bobby Wallace, the Accidental Hall of Famer. I'm going to put this one in A. I really like this one. I think it's such a great story. I think it's just, there's a lot of me sort of filling in the blanks. You know, I had to use my imagination a lot as far as explaining, you know, why Bobby Wallace got in, you know, how he would have been viewed at the time. I'd had to do some research on it as well, but there's a lot of sort of, you know, my imagination in that video. It's just kind of a fun story, and I think it's just fun to talk about, you know, a guy who played in like the dead ball era, who's a Hall of Famer, who has a really like the most like generic name for a baseball player of all time, and just it's just really interesting. I think it's a really good episode. I think it ends on a really like hopeful note. How a video ends for me is very important. I feel like I've always got to stick the landing at the end, and sometimes I don't do it. In this video, I did it. How to fix MLB is up next. This is a video I'm going to put in B. It accomplished everything I really wanted it to do. I'm going to leave it in B. In terms of what it accomplished, I would say it would be just starting a conversation, you know, and the comment section was really active on that. A lot of people disagreed with what I had to say, and that was absolutely 100% fine by me. It was really just about putting certain ideas out there that maybe people hadn't heard before, and I think for a lot of people, they truly hadn't heard those ideas before, and so that's what I think made it great, you know, it's just that, getting the discussion going. If I had to critique it, I would say that this video loses momentum once I get past the baseball on the field. I think the baseball on the field level, which is like level 1, which is where I talk about things like the sticky stuff, like, you know, deadening the balls, like getting balls in play. That part is pretty much perfect, and the rest of it is just kind of you know. But that's like a great start to the video, and then I feel like it's kind of loses momentum as it goes along. But yeah, it's a good episode of Baseball Bits. Okay, we're gonna go with the Rockies stink. I'm actually gonna give this one an A. I really like it. I think it's got snappy writing. I think it's true. I think that you know, there's some fun analysis in here. I think that's what we're looking for. It's not just analysis, but it's also fun, because it's fun to see how bad they were at spending on free agents. It's fun to see that, you know, how star-driven they were. It's fun to see how they had so many positions that were, you know, just black holes in terms of production. There's analysis in here. It's fun. The video itself is very funny. This is an A, but it's probably of the A tier, maybe the weakest A tier. So I think but I wouldn't put it in B. I think it's just above B. My collaboration with Lucas Giolito. This was a very special one to make. It was awesome to work with Lucas. I'm gonna put it in B. It's a perfectly fine episode. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's just not pushing into that top tier of work. Just not quite. And then, finally, my most recent episode of Baseball Bits, and honestly, with the least distance between, you know, having made it and having to rank it, this is actually by far the hardest one to rank, because over time, my perception of some of these has changed. And I think maybe the best example of that would be the Barry Bonds video, because really, once I came out with it, I wasn't quite sure if I had just biffed it, if I had just made just like this second-rate video. And over time, I've just kind of grown to feel like, hey, this is some of my best work, you know? I don't know how I'm going to quite view this video. I felt like, in terms of the premise, I felt like I had like an S-tier premise. Like at times I felt like I could really have made a video that reached these heights, and that I could put it up here with Willie Mays and Tim LeCastro and Verlander and Barajas. I don't think that now that it's out, there's some stuff that's rough around the edges. At a certain point, when you watch the 30th sacrifice bunt in this video? Is it still visually interesting? That's kind of what I ask myself. Is the ending of this video interesting? I don't know. However, I'm going to put it in an A. I do think it's solid. I do think it's above average. I do think it's probably a more entertaining watch than a lot of these in B. You know, it's possible that these two right here could move down to B in terms of my perception. However, I'm going to put them in A for now. So that is going to actually finish up my tier list. I think what I can do is I can actually like finalize it. I have truly ranked every episode now. So if I do this, yeah, there it is. There's a full tier list. Let's download the image. Cool. So there it is. There's the Baseball Bits tier list. I will put a link in the description, and I'm going to ask you all to fill one out because I think it would be very fun. If enough of you fill it out, it'll actually take like an average, and then it'll form like, we can sort of see what the community's rankings are of these baseball bits. So I think that would be really interesting to see. So please go fill one out, especially if you've seen every episode. You know, I don't have that expectation necessarily, but yeah, check me out. And yeah, so those are just kind of my thoughts about the videos I've done. Where do you disagree? Where do you agree? What are your favorites? What are the ones that you think are kind of weak? Let me know. But yeah, hopefully this was sort of a fun exercise for you all, kind of a peeling back behind the curtain to just kind of see what I think, because I found that sometimes what I think about the videos is not what you guys think about the videos. So hope that was fun. And yeah, I will see you all later. I'm hoping for baseball bits later this month, but if not, it'll be, you know, next month, and we'll have some Foolish Bailey in between. Peace.